I'll go back to the article. The frequency of these outbursts, unfortunately, has been growing since the, quote, Arab Spring. Brought to power political groups of Islamic orientation, either open or indirect, Mr. Margalov said in comments to the Interfax news agency. Shall I go on? The first comments in Russia on Twitter were bitingly sarcastic. Quote, the democratized residents of Libya thanked the staff of the American embassy for its support, one read. Another read this, quote, this is what you call exporting democracy. It seems America gives Libya a revolution, and Libyans in return kill the ambassador, close quote. Something you'd expect from intelligent people, which apparently we're not getting here in the United States, only in Russia. Alexei K. Pushkov, the head of Russia's Parliamentary Foreign Affairs Committee, wrote this via Twitter, quote, under Gaddafi they didn't kill diplomats. Obama and Clinton are in shock. What did they expect? Democracy? Even bigger surprises await them in Syria. I'll close off right here on that because all of these comments are in direct sync with what I try to warn you in my best-selling book, Trickle-Down Tyranny. And I keep hammering my Bible. I hammer trickle-down tyranny because I wrote it not to get rich. I wrote it to try and save this kind of event from occurring. Savage. Listen, we're talking about the death of a man, the killing of an ambassador, which did not happen under Gaddafi. Ambassadors were not killed. This murder of the ambassador in Libya, this murder of 3 staff members, including 2 U.S. Marines, is an act of war. It's a gaggle of psychotics, criminals, and fanatics put in power by the media elite. Anderson Cooper, remember, celebrated when the Libyans were running around in tight dungarees with BlackBerries, by the so-called media elite and the academic eggheads under Obama. Fanatics, psychotics, criminals, considered the Democrats of Libya. And so the Benghazi Rebel Council, filled with al-Qaeda terrorists, is now presiding over the descent of Libya into a chaos where tribes and warlords and criminal psychotics will spell the end of civilization itself in the area. And we don't know whether this is the actual goal of Obama, not just for Libya, but for the entire Arab Crescent. Because it seems to me that as intelligent as these liberals are, perhaps they actually want this as a goal. Perhaps they want civilization to end in the Arab Crescent. Maybe George Soros has a money angle here. Maybe there's some money to be made if there's a descent into chaos. I don't know. Why would they have funded this occurrence, which they did? Chaos of tribalism, warlords and criminal syndicates presiding in Libya. Now a foothold for al-Qaeda. All because Obama is either the most incompetent and corrupt president in American history. He's certainly inept. The man has not attended 50% of his national security briefings over the last 6 weeks. He's too busy raising money. There was a lack of intelligence. This is a clear failure of his foreign policy. A disaster. But there's a dead man called the U.S. ambassador. Another he looks like a very decent man. Peace Corps, UC Berkeley, Peace Corps guy, lifetime, decent person. He actually thought he could help the Libyan people. A do-gooder, in other words, not a realist. I know the type. Good people, well-meaning. I ran into them all the years I was traversing the South Seas collecting plants, the Peace Corps types, the university types. They're well-meaning, they're nice people. But remember the adage, the road to you-nowhere is paved with good intentions. You actually think that people who live in the 9th century are going to suddenly become Democrats because you told them they're nice people? Do you have any idea they're willing to burn a country to the ground to advance their concept of radical Islam? Do you have any idea that 9/11 is not old to them, it's new? They still celebrate somebody they killed 1,000 years ago. They celebrate a death of 1,000 years ago, and you think they're going to forget what they did to us on 9/11? Why? Because Mr. Peepers in the White House told you that it's all over? It's not all over. It hasn't even begun yet. This is just the prelude to what they're going to do to us, unless we get someone in the White House who understands what's at stake. How many different ways do I have to tell you they're winning and we're losing? It is a clash of civilizations. The very same liberals who are stepping so lightly over this issue about a video that was made by someone in Los Angeles against Islam and Muhammad, the people who suddenly whisper about Muhammad are the very same people who celebrated dipping a crucifix into a jar of urine at the Brooklyn Museum, or dipping a crucifix into a beaker filled with elephant dung, and they snickered over it. You remember? I remember the men's names. I remember their names. You want me to name them? I remember the name of the man who ran the Brooklyn Museum who said it's freedom of speech and artistic intent to dip a crucifix in a jar of urine and call it an art exhibit. And these very same people who mock Jesus, mock Christians on a daily basis, spit on Christianity, are telling you to be delicate when it comes to Islam. Do you understand that liberalism is not only a mental disorder, but liberalism is a suicidal mental disorder? And here's the punchline. They're running the world. They're no longer a marginal group of psychotic cowards in the ACLU. They're running the world. They're no longer a marginal group of academic eggheads who you can dismiss. They're now running the world. They have names. And the top academic egghead ruining the world is Barack Hussein Obama. And the only reason King Obama gets away with it is because of the complicity of morons like those people in the media who refuse to accept the fact that he caused this with his naivete, if you want to put it that way, unless he actually wants this to occur. So, we have a mess on our hands. And the liberal idiots in the media understand something from this horrible tragedy. You know what they know? This could cost Obama the election, which is why they ganged up on Romney for meekly saying that we need a strong leader here. We don't have one. All Romney said was, this is a result of weakness. That's all he said. And they all coordinated an attack, beginning with the jerks at the alphabet channels, and then the usual jerks from Politico and the other front groups for the Democrat Party. They all coordinated their attack. Mr. Romney, did you jump the gun? Mr. Romney, when did you jump the gun? Mr. Romney, are you sorry you jumped the gun? Mr. Romney, would you jump the gun again? Mr. Romney, why did you jump the gun? Mr. Romney, when you jumped the gun, do you think there are consequences? They all said the same thing. They rehearsed it. Why did they attack Romney when they should be attacking those who killed our ambassador? Answer, liberalism is a dangerous mental disorder. So let's go back to the article where the Russians get it exactly right, and I'll finish it up where they're saying, quote, under Gaddafi they didn't kill diplomats. Obama and Clinton are in shock. What did they expect, democracy? Even bigger surprises await them in Syria. Others said this, American leaders should not expect, quote, one word of sympathy from their Russian counterparts. It is a tragedy to the family of the poor ambassador, but his blood is on the hands of Hillary Clinton personally and Barack Obama personally. Who wrote that? Michael Savage, the right-winger? No, Yevgeny Y. Satanovsky, president of the Institute of the Middle East in Moscow. That's what he said. He blames Obama and Hillary Clinton for this blood spilling. Mr. Satanovsky said this. He said Russian warnings against intervention in the Middle East came from the bitter experience of the Soviets in Afghanistan. He said, you are the Soviet Union now, guys, and you pay the price. You are trying to distribute democracy the way we try to distribute socialism. You do it in the Western way. They hate both. He said dictators were preferable to the constellation of armed forces that emerges when they are unseated. Exactly Michael Savage's sentiments, because it's realpolitik. Anyone who understands history understands that this is nothing new. There's nothing new under the sun. These violent, psychotic throwbacks were held in check by violent, mad dictators. And when you take away the dictators, you have the psychotics and the tribes and the lunacy that you are seeing now. I'll continue with the article, not my editorializing. Quote, they lynched Gaddafi. Do you really think that they will be thankful to you, he said? They use stupid white people from a big, rich, and stupid country, which they really hate. Russia's case against American involvement in the Middle East dates from the post-September 11th campaigns in Iraq and Afghanistan. But it has been at the forefront of Russian discourse for at least a year since Mr. Putin broke out of his role as prime minister and delivered a passionate criticism of the NATO bombing campaign in Libya, leaving the clear impression that he, unlike his predecessor, would have used Russia's power in the United Nations to stop it. Mr. Putin has dug his heels in on the issue of Syria, frustrating Western hopes that he could persuade Assad to leave his post voluntarily. Fyodor Lukyanov, a respected analyst and editor of Russia and Global Affairs, said this. He said, violence like Tuesday's had been at the heart of Russia's warnings. He said Russia had formulated a post-communist position. Listen to this, it's the last line. Russia had formulated a post-communist position. If you try to impose anything on others, as the Soviet Union tried to do, the result will be the opposite and disastrous. This killing is just strengthening the views, which are already quite widespread, that the Western approach to the Arab Spring is basically wrong, close quote, Mr. Lukyanov said. Now, Michael Savage called the Arab Spring what it was. He called it the Arab Winter about a year ago. And now we see that I was right, that we've gone from the ivory tower to the loss of power in one incompetent administration. If you care to comment on any of these comments, the phone number is 1-800-449-8255. If you care to comment on the Fugazi in the White House, you can call 1-800-449-8255. If you care to comment on Hillary Clinton laughing about the death of Gaddafi as though it was just a paper doll being hung out of a window, you can call me on this at the same phone number. Let's play Hillary Clinton again after they had killed Gaddafi. Listen.
We came, we saw, he died.
You hear the girls? You hear the academic eggheads having a good time over the death of a man? If that doesn't tell you everything you need to know about liberalism and how dangerous it is and how vicious it is, I have nothing else to offer you. I'll be right back. Savage. So the academic eggheads under Obama, Samantha Power in particular, celebrate the death of Gaddafi, and they think that the very same people, the thugs, the psychotics, the warlords that they ushered into power are going to thank them. Instead, they kill the ambassador and his Marine Guard. And today, the media attacks Romney because Romney meekly said that this is a result of our weakness and we shouldn't apologize for our values. Right away, they go into overdrive. I've never seen anything like this. It's something out of the ex-Soviet Union, like Izvestia or Pravda, where there is a concerted chorus of critics of anyone who criticizes the king. Anyone who criticizes the king is an enemy of the state to these left-wing fanatics. I've never seen. I don't know anyone listening to this show who may have not known who I was before the show could come away with any thought other than this guy knows what he's talking about. We are in danger. That if we do not correct the course we're on and we don't dump this gang from Chicago, we're finished as a nation because it's going to get a lot worse before it gets better. Let me tell you that right now. Unless we get some real men with real experience back in control of this country, we're not going to have a nation in another administration. It's not going to be here. Not in the form in which you have come to expect it to be. We'll be somewhat of a hybrid between a third world nation and an ex-first world nation. Will start to look more and more like Portugal rather than the United States of America. Obama is melting this nation down, not only financially, which is bad enough, morally, spiritually, morally, spiritually, financially, militarily. Tell me one area in which Obama has built this nation up, because I don't know it, other than in the use of food stamps. He's built the nation up with regard to third world illegal aliens. Yes, you could say that. He's built the nation up with regard to more people on food stamps, but I don't know where else he's built the nation up. You're going to say this is an example of him building up the nation morally? This is unbelievable to me. It's so clear, it's as though God is speaking to us. God is speaking to us through these acts. Here we are, September 12th. This happens on September 11th. Yesterday on the show, do you remember what I said on the show yesterday on the Savage Nation? I want, guys, get that small 20-second piece ready. Because it was, I never say prophetic. I want you to listen to something that may be considered prophetic. This was from September 11th, when in 2001. Listen. United States of America. The radical Muslim world